Hello, welcome to the New Stack Makers, a podcast where we talk about at-scale application development, deployment, and management. Hey, we'd like to thank Cloud Foundry for sponsoring our podcast from the Cloud Foundry Summit in Santa Clara, California. It's been a great conference. We've learned a lot about the new open service broker API developments, Kubo, and just generally how enterprise customers are using Cloud Foundry these days. Check out Cloud Foundry at cloudfoundry.org and check out the podcast. We have several coming up. Hey, it's Alex Williams of the New Stack, here for the final interview of the Cloud Foundry Summit with Abby Kearns, Executive Director, Cloud Foundry Foundation. Abby, this is your walk-on song.
This is awesome. We should have walk-on music on the podcast.
We should have walk-on music on the podcast. Yeah. Judy, do you want to sing? Yeah, there you go, Judy. There you go. I think we all are kind of tired, but we're also kind of animated here. Are you feeling okay?
I think it's called punchy.
Punchy?
Yes. But it's it's hard to be this excited and hyped up, for multiple days, but it's so much fun being here at Cloud Foundry Summit 2017, Silicon Valley edition. But it's also really inspiring to be around the community and hear their stories and see people, and it's amazing.
There have been a lot of good stories. We've done 7 podcasts, I think. We had a great panel this morning for the pancake breakfast. Some people were coming up to me and saying they really got a lot out of it, which is great for us to hear. But I think it's really that's owed to the content itself, because we're seeing the maturity of the open service broker API,
One of my favorite projects. And Kubo.
And Kubo, which is one of the more interesting projects I've seen come along in a while. I look forward to kind of learning more about that. I guess the question about the open service broker API it's gaining traction, right, out of its home base at Cloud Foundry. So do you see this greater trend towards standardization of what constitutes a service so they can be consumed just much more easily in the future?
Well, yeah, I think services are going to be the huge accelerator as more and more applications are being written. I mean, applications really need the services, but the services also drive the applications. It's this amazing two-sided network effect. And I think what we consider a service is also going to continue to evolve. And I think, what we had in mind when we started the conversation around the open service broker API effort was to really figure out a way to solidify that API connection point, how you connect and bind services to a platform and to an application. And if you could build that and make that consistent across multiple platforms, then you offer an amazing opportunity to build an ecosystem around that. And as we think about where this can go forward, I mean, it's just so amazing to see so many different projects and communities, really leaning in and taking advantage of that and building on that, because that's where the amazing innovation happens, is all of these different perspectives that come to the table and look at it and bring their own ideas to the table. Right.
So, with that in mind, there's a few announcements that we heard about, right? Microsoft Azure, right? Microsoft coming into the Cloud Foundry world.
Now a gold member. Woo.
Now a gold member. Woo, 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 woo. What's the significance of that? What is the adoption that we're seeing with Microsoft and Cloud Foundry? What's going on there?
Well, I think Corey did a great job yesterday of really illustrating the history. So it's not like Microsoft just showed up yesterday to be part of the Cloud Foundry Foundation.
They got off the train.
They got off the train.
Hey, we're here.
They took the train down from Seattle. No, they've been part of the community and been working with Cloud Foundry since 2015. They've obviously done a tremendous amount of work with Pivotal, but they're the ones that created the Azure CPI. They've been building on that. They've done a tremendous amount of integration of Cloud Foundry into Azure and are continuing to do that. And I think their participation in the foundation, particularly at a Gold level, really is a great indicator that they want to do more within the open source. And I'm really excited to have Microsoft part of the open source community.
Changing topics a little bit to diversity and inclusiveness. at Cloud Foundry Foundation. What were some of the real kind of efforts that you were trying to build into this conference to really kind of help be more inclusive for just generally across the ecosystem, which is really needed overall? What were some of the things you were thinking about coming into this conference?
Well, a couple of things. So diversity and inclusivity are deeply important to me, not only as a woman in tech, but also really wanting to inspire that approach to everything we do.
Right.
That's an amazing opportunity we have in open source, is bringing together diverse people, diverse backgrounds, diverse, socioeconomic, diverse race, just everything, bringing that difference to the table, because that's really where the innovation happens. That's where the ideas happen. And for me, it was a great opportunity to also showcase the amazing diversity we have in our community. What we were able to do with this particular summit is over half the keynotes were women. The panel this morning at the New Stack, it was actually Hoger was nice enough to point it out that he was the only man on this panel of amazing women technologists, Yui Kao and Sarah Novotny. I have both mad respect for both of them, and it's always great to be in their presence. And I think we have a lot of amazing and talented women here at this event, and I wanted to make sure that we continue to showcase their talent and bring those stories up, but also make sure that this is an inclusive event, an event where everyone feels welcome and comfortable sharing their ideas.
Well, it was apparent in the people who you saw walking around, right? It was nice to see that. So going forward with for the rest of the year for Cloud Foundry Foundation, what are some of your big themes you're going to be developing? I guess we'll see probably more out of the Open Service Broker API coming into the fall.
Absolutely.
And Kubo, and there's some things I've been hearing about Kubo. Some of the things you guys want to do, for instance, like how do you integrate an Open Service Broker API into Kubo so you can pull out those data services? How do you think about load balancing, in a Kubo environment? How do you think about Bosch kind of like, with Kubernetes? There's just a lot going on, it seems like.
I'm super excited about Kubo now being officially part of the foundation. Google and Pivotal have really done a tremendous amount of work to get it started, and I think there's a huge opportunity for the rest of the community to also lean in and participate. So I'm excited to see where Kubo goes. I think between the Open Service Broker API and Kubo, not only are those great reflections of the collaborative work that can happen in open source, but I think they can drive a tremendous amount of innovation, both around Cloud Foundry as well as the Cloud Foundry ecosystem. And I'm looking forward to seeing more work around that. Chip also today highlighted a lot of the other open projects and open source technologies that are being used in Cloud Foundry or are being discussed. Things like the container networking interface of CNI, or OCI, RunC, or open tracing, or the conversations that are going on around container storage. And I think there's so much potential and so much capacity in the open source communities, not just in Cloud Foundry, but in other communities like Cloud Native Computing Foundation and the Open Container Initiative, and in many more. And I'm looking forward to continuing to drive that collaborative approach as we think about best of breed technology.
How will that collaborative approach work then, for across these different organizations? Is that going to require different ways to connect these different technologies, or is that something that can be done through an Open Service Broker API, or is it going to be, what are we looking at here?
I think it's a lot of different ways. I mean, it just depends on the technology. Like OCI, the RunC spec that came out of that was pulled into Garden, which is the container technology around Cloud Foundry, or that's part of Cloud Foundry. Container networking has been pulled into Cloud Foundry. But you see things like, Kubo, which kind of sits alongside it, leveraging Bosch and extending that to Kubernetes. So I think it just depends on the technology and how that layer is applied. But I think what's the important piece is the open and collaborative approach around the technologies and what they mean to Cloud Foundry as a whole.
So we should see that. So that should be something we should see more of this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So what else are you looking forward to?
Vacation?
Yes. Yes. Where are you going? Hawaii again?
Just not Santa Clara. How about that? No, it's so much fun here, but as you pointed out, events are hard, and by the time you get towards the end of them.
We had a good time at the Bourbon Pub last night.
We did have a good time, and there'll be another event tonight, and we're excited to continue to spend the rest of the week with the community. For the rest of the year, I think some of the things that I'm excited about this year are the work around Kubo, the work around Open Service Broker API, deepening those integrations. But, most importantly, we just announced yesterday the general availability of the Cloud Foundry Certified Developer Program. And really seeing that take off and evolve and get more developers excited and using Cloud Foundry is what I'm really excited about.
Excellent. Well, Abby, thank you for helping us conclude this series of podcasts from the Cloud Foundry Summit in Santa Clara, California. Any last song you want to sing before you hit the road?
I'm going to leave that to you to sing us on the way out,
That's
Alex.
okay. I can sing for the Cloud Foundry Summit.
Judy's giving me the eye for letting you sing on camera.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Abby. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Alex. Always a pleasure.
And our thanks to Cloud Foundry for sponsoring our podcast from the Cloud Foundry Summit in Santa Clara, California. Check out Cloud Foundry at cloudfoundry.org and talk to you again soon. Listen to more episodes of the New Stack Makers at thenewstack.io/podcasts. Please rate and review us on iTunes, like us on YouTube, and follow us on SoundCloud. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.